Let's talk about how OIT handles incidents. Our definition of an incident is when something that we have previously agreed should be working is not working correctly or isn't working up to the expected performance levels. That's an incident that we want to resolve within a certain period of time. So we're going to create a record and track the resolution of that situation until we get it resolved. So this is what it looks like to create an incident from a customer perspective, not from an OIT perspective, but from someone on campus who comes to support.byu.edu and they want to create an incident with us. They can do that in a few ways. They could use the chat interface and chat with the service desk. So that's kind of your free form option, right? Because I'm just chatting. Who knows what's going to come out of that in terms of a record. But if I want to create an incident directly from the public interface, then I can go to support.byu.edu and I can click on report an issue in the popular requests section. If I go to report an issue, I'm going to see a very simple, it's actually an order form. I'm going to see a very simple record producing order form that asks me to describe the issue. Now, most users, this is the only field they see. It just says, tell us what's wrong. Give us as much detail. We give them a little bit of a prompt here, but they're just free form telling us something's broken, something's not working for me. They put that in, they submit that, and then that goes to the OIT service desk, our technology support center, the TSC as we call it. It goes to that service desk to figure out who should deal with this. Maybe the service desk can deal with it. Maybe they need to pass it on to a more specialized group to deal with it. But the person reporting the issue, they don't need to know anything about our org chart. They don't need to know anything about our service structure. They just say, I think this is an IT thing. I think you're supposed to help me with it. Here's the description. They can give it to us that way. Now, if you have some higher level rights in the system, for example, if you're in the Office of IT or you have the CSR, the Computer Support Representative role, you do see a couple of extra fields on this report an issue form. You'll see an assignment group field and you'll see a service offering field. So if you happen to know what those are, it can speed the incident getting to the correct group more accurately. If you don't know, that's fine. You don't have to fill it in. But if you happen to know the name of the group that should be working on that incident, or you know the service offering that it's part of, then you can improve your routing chances without it getting bounced around to multiple groups where we try to figure out who can deal with the issue that you describe. So this is how someone is going to report an incident from the public side. Once they report an incident, let me come back to my home page. Suppose that I have previously reported an incident in the system. From this front page, there's a couple of ways they can access their previously reported incidents. If it's still open and active and they're logged in, they can see if they're logged in if their name shows up, then it should be a box down here on the bottom right that'll let them get into the details of their incident. They can see how long it's been open, any conversation that's happened between them and the IT people who've been working on the incident. So if they've been logging comments on that incident, they'll show up here in a stream of conversation. And then if they want, they can close out or resolve that incident from here to say, no, I don't need this worked on anymore, or they can add new attachments, things like that. If they're on this home thing and they want to get to other requests besides their incidents, there is a generalized request form. We're continuing to update these things, so it may not look exactly the same by the time you watch this video, but now if I go to this generalized request section, I can see all of my submitted requests, including incidents or order forms or other things. But you get into that same sort of a system where you can see here is the email I sent and here's the conversation that went along with that conversation. So that's from an end user perspective, that's how they interact with an incident. It's also worth noting that when you create an incident in ServiceNow, then you're going to get a notification email that says, hey, you just created an incident and here's the number of the incident that we created. And now if the support person adds comments to the incident, then those comments will automatically be emailed out to the caller. We'll talk about those notifications more in a minute. But our production instance is the only one that sends those notifications, not the test instance. What if you are a person who works on incidents or you have access to the back end or administrative interface in ServiceNow? How can you create an incident in there without going to the public support portal? Well, what that looks like, and I'll do this in the test environment because I don't want to create incidents in the real environment. If I go to the test environment, I'm going to click on all and I'll filter to incidents and I'll say, oh, in the OIT Work Center, where an incident, here's a list of all the open incidents, or I can create a new incident directly from here. Let me just start from a list of all the open incidents. So if I'm on a list of incidents, as in this case, then I can click the New button, and the New button will open up a blank incident form that I can fill in. There are not very many required fields for an incident, but they'll be indicated with an asterisk if you have to fill in that field. If you haven't already filled it in, the asterisk, it usually shows as red. If it already has a default value, then you could put it in there. But because we don't want these to get lost, we require a few classification fields to be filled in. We want to know, before we save this from an administrator perspective, what service offering does this incident belong to, so that we can get the right support groups and the right service managers to have visibility into these incidents. And then we assign to some group who is going to work on this incident. If you don't know what these values are, you can go back to the public interface and just submit it, and our awesome student employees in the TSC can help figure out where that thing should belong. They can get it routed. But if you know, you can come in here to this interface and you can create the incidents for your own team, for your own assignment group, for example. You can create those directly when you find out about those. Let me go back to my list of all incidents here, to the open incidents. But if I go into one of these, I can say, I can see what the service was, the service offering that was linked to it, what assignment group is supposed to work on it. And then at the bottom, I'm going to see a list of emails. There's a related list for emails. They might show up in the work log. Any emails, inbound or outbound emails for this incident may show up in this work log, but they also should show up in a related list at the bottom. So I can see what emails got sent specifically for this incident. Now, none of them get sent from this test instance of ServiceNow because the email engine is turned off here. But these are the ones that should have been sent. I can see who was supposed to receive this email. I can click into that email and I can say, oh, yep, here's the raw HTML of that email that was supposed to be sent, and I have a link to preview that email down here. And I can see, okay, this is the message that was supposed to be, and it's not a very exciting message, but there it is. There's the message that was going to go out to this group in an email message. So you can see if a caller submits an incident to your group, you can reply on that incident. You can reply. Let me do this on an incident. We'll look at it. You can come into the work log on an incident, and if you put in something on the work log and you don't mark it as an internal note, then it will go back to the caller. If the caller replies to that email with their email client, those replies will also show up in the work log. It'll show up in this activity stream right here. So email replies will show up on the same incident as your outbound messages in this work log. We have a few notifications that you're going to see happening on incidents. So the caller gets notifications when their incident has changed. Also, if I assign this to a group, when I change the assignment of an incident, that group is going to get an email saying, hey, we've assigned an incident to your group, so please do something about it. If it's been assigned to a particular person within that group, then just that one person is going to get the email saying this incident is assigned. The whole group won't get it. But if I don't have an individual, then the whole group will get the email. And anytime we add comments, then the right people will get it. You won't get a comment if you yourself add. If you're the commenter and you're supposed to receive it, the system will usually filter those out, so you don't get a comment about comments you added directly in the interface. But other people should get it. So if a comment comes in here from the caller, then the assignment group should get those comments, and vice versa. One of the other questions that sometimes comes up as people are putting in an incident is, how do we set the priority of an incident? Right now, we're adjusting that process in OIT, so I'm not talking too much about it, but there's going to be, kind of like there is in the default out-of-the-box incident, we're switching back to this. So there's going to be an impact and an urgency field, and those two fields together will combine to specify the priority of an incident. That's not happening at the time of this recording in our BYU instance of ServiceNow, but we're about to switch back to using this default method. There'll be an impact and an urgency. So you can set those values, and if the impact is low and the urgency is low, then the priority can become very low. Let's talk about the expectations for OIT to handle incidents. These are our proposed timers for how fast you should be responding if you're a fulfiller to an incident. If we get an incident that's a P1, a priority 1 incident, our expectation is that a priority 1 incident should be responded to within 15 minutes. Usually it's even faster than that, but we want 15 minutes to be the longest that it takes us to initially respond to a P1 incident, and we want to resolve that within 4 hours, day or night. That's the expectation, is that there is a really fast need to resolve a P1 incident because it has a high impact, a high urgency, and so we're going to try and resolve that within 4 business hours. That's our goal. A P2 means that we want to respond to those within an hour at the longest, and we want to resolve those within 5 or 9 hours with a P2. Once we get to a P3 and a P4 for incident handling, then we want to respond to those, initial response within 4 business hours. That only counts between 8 and 5, Monday to Friday, and excludes holidays. So within 4 business hours or 18 business hours, or essentially 3 business days, that's how fast we want to resolve our P3s, and our P4s we want to resolve within 5 business days, or 1 business week, as it is 9 business hours. Those are our proposed times, and so we'll be trying to build some metrics around those that you may be seeing. We're making a separation between a P1, which is how fast we need to resolve something, and a major incident. A major incident is how many people need to be involved in resolving the issue. So we may have a P1 that is because there's a network switch that goes down, but the network team knows totally how to deal with it. They don't need a broad coordination bridge. They don't need to involve multiple teams. So they're going to resolve that really quickly, and they know to deal with that. So that'll still be a P1. But it doesn't have to be a major incident with a bridge that needs leadership notification and all of those things. So we're separating out those 2 concepts right now, and so you'll see more of that in coming weeks and months from OIT leadership.